These days, everyone is doing virtual events. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to do yours successfully and, more importantly, profitably. So first I'm going to share some reasons why hosting a virtual event can be really powerful and profitable. And then I'm going to get into 7 key considerations. The first thing we'll cover is the design and the concept of your event. Then we'll get into the format and the platform that you're going to use. We'll talk about filling your event and marketing it in a way that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, preparing for your event, and ultimately delivering your event effectively, and then what happens after the event. And that's something a lot of people forget, and it's one of the most critical and crucial parts of planning an effective and profitable event. So here are some good reasons for why you might be wanting to host a virtual event. The first is that maybe you've been hosting live events, and now because of COVID, you're having to pivot to virtual events. Or perhaps you just recognize the huge opportunity right now in putting together virtual events that don't cost very much money, but have a huge potential for generating revenue. Or maybe you're some sort of coach or consultant or speaker looking to spark transformation in new ways and develop new revenue streams. Or perhaps you just recognize that virtual events are a great format for teaching and for sharing vital skills. Also, creating virtual events are a great way to gather people, especially in this time when people can't gather as much in person. Or perhaps there's some other reason that you want to host a virtual event. But these are some of the ones that I've seen and the ones that I've experienced myself personally. So the first thing we'll want to think about is the design or the concept of your event. For example, who is your event for? And what is the value proposition of the event? Now, with live events, one of the things that happens is that we get a lot of times caught up in the production details of the event. The venue, the food, the amenities, the networking sessions, all of the things that go along with an event, but that aren't actually necessarily exactly part of the value proposition of the event. With a virtual event, you can strip away a lot of those elements and save a lot of money. If you don't have to pay for AV or a venue or food, you can save a lot of money, and you can take some of that money and invest it into the event itself, into the content, into the speakers, into the actual things that are going to lead to some sort of transformational outcome. I like to say when it comes to virtual events, and actually really any event, sell the promise, not the production. A few other things you want to think about as you develop your event promise is who are the speakers that you're going to bring together? What kind of content are you going to focus on? What's the value proposition for the event, aka the big event promise? What is the price point for your event? Since you're saving all this money that you don't have to invest in production, are you going to charge the same amount, or can you drop the price a little bit? Now, there are good arguments for both. I've done events where, because it's virtual, I've seen the event price drop and then be able to generate a bigger audience. But I've also seen people, and I myself, have held firm at our price point for a virtual event instead of an in-person live one and have had no pushback. In fact, we've had more people register for our quarterly retreat at the same price point as we do live in person, and they get to save airfare and hotel. They don't have to pay for those things. So it becomes a win-win. We still get our full fee, and they get to save money and time on the travel. Another thing you'll want to think about at this stage up front, and this is probably the most important piece of information that I talk about again and again and again, is what is the big back end? What is it that this event is going to lead into? How are you going to drive revenues from this event for the next year? And then finally, in the design concept phase, I think it's really important to go ahead and set the date. That way you have a target in mind and you have something kind of concrete that you're working on, rather than having it be all loosey-goosey. Once you set a date, it's really happening, and you can start to enroll people in the event. And that's actually a big part of my philosophy. Actually, I'll tell you what that is in a moment. If you go ahead first and click the like button and subscribe to my channel. So now that you've done that, what I recommend doing is what I call sell it first, figure it out later. I'm a big believer in creating the design and the concept and then just putting it out there and starting to enroll people before you have it all figured out, before you have every single element organized. I used to do an event called the Women's Success Summit, and I would create the whole website and ticket sales and everything with just a theme and with certain topics that I knew we were going to cover. I didn't know who all the speakers were going to be. I didn't know if we were going to do an interview for this or a panel for that, but I went ahead and started selling the event first. And then I was able to take some of that revenue that was coming in and invest it in securing my speakers and securing other important elements of the event. So sell it first, figure it out later. So come up with enough that you need so that you can put the event out there and start marketing and enrolling people into it. The next thing you'll want to think about after the design and the concept is the format of the event. So the format is, how long is the event going to be? How many hours a day? Here's something you might not expect. I know that there's Zoom fatigue out there, that people are exhausted of being on their Zoom computer screen all day. And because of that, a lot of the people that I work with are scared of doing a multi-day event online. But I've actually seen it work really, really well. Now, the key to having a multi-day event online work is to have it not be the same structure over and over. So not to have a talking head on the camera for the entire 8 or 10 hours of the day. I run a 3-day retreat online that goes from 10 in the morning till 7 in the evening for 3 days straight. That's 9 hours. People hear that and they're like, oh my God, no, I couldn't possibly do that. But the fact is, people do that because I create a really compelling value proposition. By the time people leave that event, they're going to have a business plan, a new business model, and a new business plan designed and structured and laid out. And also because I mix it up during the day. So the format that I use Zoom. By the way, you can use Zoom or other platforms like Whova, W-H-O-V-A, which can be an all-in-one event hosting platform. But I use a much simpler Zoom. And what I do is I mix it up. I'll spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes explaining something into the screen. Then I'll do examples on my digital whiteboard. Then I'll do interviews with people that illustrate what I just talked about. Then we'll get into breakout sessions so people can discuss the ideas with each other. Then we'll come back and I'll do a hot seat with one person so that I can show people how it works throughout. And then we'll do any number of other things that basically we mix it up so that you don't ever have the same thing going on for more than 15 or 20 minutes. And like that, the days just whiz by. We don't even notice that we're on there for 9 hours. The next thing you'll want to focus on is, how are you going to fill this event? This is my absolute favorite part of doing events, and it's also, quite honestly, my least favorite part. It's the part that provides the opportunity for the most creativity, and it's also the part that provides the most pressure, right? Filling your event. It doesn't feel good to put all this effort and time and energy and love into creating an event and then nobody wants to come. Nobody signs up. So for that reason, this might not be a popular opinion here. I'm a big believer in one-on-one personal enrollment. Picking up the phone, having meaningful conversations with people, and inviting them to attend your event. And that's whether the event is big or small. I used to do a Women's Success Summit in Miami twice a year. And I'll tell you that most of those people that showed up at that event, it's because I picked up the phone and I spoke to them and I enrolled them in it. And they bought a ticket because I asked them to come. Now, even though that's the case, that didn't mean that they were less qualified. I ended up generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue in post-event sales because those people were there. So I invite you to consider number one strategy for getting people enrolled in your event is to reach out and invite them personally. Another strategy that's worked really well for filling events, whether they're live in person or virtual, is to partner with an organization that has your people, that already has a dialogue, already has trust and credibility, and already has the track record of inviting people to an event. So what I mean by that, for example, is a chamber of commerce or an association in your field. So if you partner with a chamber or an association, you can make them a partner of your event and feature them at your event. Give them a speaking slot, give them a 5-minute ad, give them a short interview, something that showcases them. And then in exchange for that, they promote you to their audience. They can send out emails, they can add you to their weekly newsletter, whatever it is that they do, you can partner so that you can reach their people and also help them reach your people. Some other things you can do to fill your events is provide coupon codes or affiliate codes. So remember that organization I just talked about, like a chamber of commerce, you can give them a special code so that all of their people who use that code get a discount on the event. And you can even give them a percentage back if you want to of the registration fees. Some other strategies that we've used, I used to make partnerships with radio stations and give them free tickets for them to give away and do contests for radio stations. And another really strong strategy that I would never do an event without is email marketing. One of the biggest things I focus on, and I'm not going to dive into it in this video, but just a quick overview, is every time I speak, meet someone, do a video on YouTube, my goal is to connect with that person deeper and get them onto my email list. That email list is my gold mine. Whenever I send out an email promoting something, people take action. And be careful, by the way, I don't send out only emails that promote something. I would say every 9th or 10th email might promote something. The other 8 or 9 emails are always emails of value with stories or opportunities or freebies or giveaways or something like that. So now let's talk a little bit about preparing for your event. One of the best things that I can advise you to do is, no matter what size event you're having, is to have someone to lean on, a support person that can handle the technical part of the event so that you can focus on the bigger picture, being the host or the hostess with the mostest. And in order to do that effectively, what I've learned the hard way is, instead of staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning the night before your event, straggling and struggling to get every final little detail done, I recommend taking that day completely off, taking yourself to the spa, getting a massage, and doing a self-care day. I've learned the hard way that the thing that matters the most for you as a host, for us as hosts, is our energy and our state, the state that we show up in. If we show up tired, stressed out, people are going to feel that. Our speakers are going to feel that. The audience is going to feel that. So the key is to take really good care of yourself. Do all that logistical prep work well before the event so that you're not stuck at the last minute scrambling to get everything put together. In terms of once you get to the event and it's time to deliver, one of my biggest recommendations, and I could go on and on, I could talk about this for days, but the first thing is to create a really powerful pre-frame to set up your event. You are the person that's responsible for how this event goes. And one of the best things you can do for it to go well is to set the stage, to set the tone of the event. I actually spend 90 minutes, my very first session of my very first day of my 3-day event, I spend 90 minutes establishing the tone of the event, creating the container, creating the guidelines, the energy style, that how we're going to show up, the expectations of the event. This is so important because it can help you avoid problems down the line. So for example, one of the things I address in my pre-frame, and you might consider doing this too, is what happens when we have technical issues. Because we are going to have technical issues. The internet's going to go down, somebody's thing is going to get stuck or frozen, you might be kicked out of the event, not able to get back in. So these are the things that happen. So one of the things that I do at the beginning of the event is say, here's how we're going to deal with this. First of all, you're going to relax and laugh it off. Because if we show up here stressed out, then what is it that we're going to create in the business? The way we show up here is the way we show up out there. So this is a practice run for how we deal with circumstances in life. Life is full of unexpected things. It's full of challenges. So let's practice here rolling with those challenges. I even tell people, all right, we're going to roll with it. And I give them this hand gesture. We all practice it together. Everybody laughs about it. And then later in the weekend, inevitably something happens and I get freaked out. And the people in the room say, hey, Michelle, roll with it. Right? So I've created this culture now. Everybody's like, hey, take it easy. No big deal. Like if I hadn't done that, people might have gotten stressed out or worried or, annoyed. But because I established that at the beginning, people have that attitude of rolling with it. You can do that too. What kind of culture do you want to create? Set the tone for that right at the beginning. The last thing, and perhaps the most important part of this, especially if you're looking to make money from your events, which I hope you are, is what do you do after the event? So there are a few things that I recommend always doing. The first is always sending out a post-event survey right away and getting people's feedback. Now, I know it can be a little bit painful sometimes when you put your heart and your soul into creating this beautiful event to open yourself up to the opportunity or the possibility that people might criticize it or not have enjoyed it. And I get it. I know that hurts. And you also give yourself the opportunity to be opened up to all the ways it helped people and was beneficial and all the ways you might improve it for next time. So I invite you to send out a survey, no more than 10 questions, really easy, multiple choice, maybe with 1 or 2 boxes where people can type up their ideas or their feedback. Keep it simple, but definitely don't miss out on the opportunity to get feedback while it's hot. And maybe even give an incentive for people to do that. The second thing you'll want to do after the event is make sure that you follow up with the people who were interested in whatever you offered and who didn't buy. Believe it or not, I've seen up to 50% of a virtual event sales happen after the event is already over. And in fact, at our most recent retreat, we had half of our enrollment happened on site at the retreat, but half of them happened in the 2 days after the retreat. So my advice to you is set aside at least 2 days after your event, after your virtual conference, and leave that just for follow-up, just to check in with people. And you would be amazed at how much people value you just sending them a quick text and saying, hey, I hope the experience was great for you. What did you think? Or, do you want to connect after? So I'm a big believer in big time follow-up. And then finally, we always do something what we call a post-mortem on every event. Now, I know that sounds a little macabre, but a post-mortem is basically an autopsy of an event, just like we do an autopsy of a human when they pass away and we want to figure out what happened. So at the end of an event, afterwards, I gather my whole team and some of my top clients and I say, all right, let's pick this thing apart. Let's talk about each and everything. I want to know everything. I want to read these survey results, put it all together and figure out how are we going to make this event better next time. I hope that this video was valuable for you, and if you'd like to go even deeper and explore if and how I might be able to help you produce and monetize your own virtual events and conferences, then let's have a conversation. Go to superstaractivator.com/go and set up time on my calendar or someone on my team's calendar to explore our program offerings and whether they might be a right fit for you. I look forward to connecting with you soon.